documentary last week that involved him and helped you remember what that retirement, that moment was like for him when he walked into the Staples Center and talked about how, appreciative he was of Los Angeles and the Lakers of allowing him to grow up, of teaching him, to be a more giving player, what it was to become a team player. I mean, remarkable that audiences, were just reminded of that yesterday. Talk to me about your memories about how we watched him grow up with this huge responsibility, of being a professional athlete and being a rising star, and how he grew and learned about the responsibility, of being a high-profile athlete.
Well, you're right. He was a kid when we first heard about him. He's coming out of high school right to the NBA, and we know how hard that is because players have done it. LeBron James certainly has done it. Kobe did it. But it's rare, and it's rare that the arc of the story would be so successful and just so majestic. And Kobe did learn. He talked about the mistakes he made. He was a kid. He goes from high school right to the LA Lakers, and a spotlight that New York, LA, maybe Chicago. There's so few places that spotlight burns so brightly, and Kobe embraced it and went right into that. And of course there were issues, and well, it seems terrible to mention at this moment of his death that we're talking about the sexual assault allegations, the trial. That was a terrible moment, and that was not good. Obviously, I'm not going to sugarcoat that at all. But within those mistakes, there was also learning, and there was also a sense from him, as we saw, as I mentioned a little bit ago, with his daughters, of wanting to be a part of showing them this new world for women and opportunities for women and girls. And so as you look at the arc of his life and his career, and you look at how he's grown and became just a stalwart in our culture, in the community, and as I said, the things that could have been coming forward over the next 20, 30 years in his life. I mean, that is, the tragedy is losing him. What he has done, the history of Kobe, Hall of Fame, one of the great names in sports and one of the great performers ever in the NBA and throughout sports, but also the promise of what he could do in our culture moving forward. Even though he was retired, there was so much more yet to come.
As a 41-year-old man, still a very young man who could continue to make an impact and still will, I'm sure, even posthumously. Christine, thank you so much. I also want to bring in now CNN's Bryant Stelter. Brian, we're talking about, a sports hero, a multimedia star, in fact.
Yes, a transcendent basketball player, but also a global phenomenon. Someone who had a profound impact on the Lakers and on the NBA, but became a worldwide celebrity. Freddie was born in Philadelphia, started playing at age 3, and of course, became one of the NBA's greatest champions. Retired, as Christine said, in 2016, scored 33,643 points in his career, and represented the U.S. team in the Olympics twice. Just last night, LeBron James surpassed Kobe for third on the all-time scoring list. And I want to read what LeBron said about Kobe that night. He said, "I'm just happy to be in any conversation with Kobe Bryant, one of the all-time greatest basketball players to ever play, one of the all-time greatest Lakers." LeBron went on to say, "The man has 2 jerseys hanging up at the Staples Center. It's just crazy." And Kobe, in exchange, congratulated LeBron, congratulated him on growing the game. But it is a heartbreaking loss for the NBA, for the basketball world, and for the world at large, because he was such a global phenomenon. By the way, Fred, I think people might be wondering, what's he doing in a helicopter on a Sunday morning in the hills near Malibu? Kobe was known for taking his private helicopter to and from his games. This was something that was written about. It was a part of his aura, part of his appeal. And he said he did it, not just for the Hollywood glitz and glamour. He was doing it because it was best for his body, best for his performance, because he was able to land right there near the Staples Center, head inside for the games. This was something that he did for years. He had his logo adorned on the helicopter, and it appears it was that very helicopter that crashed earlier today. And we do not know the identities of the other 4 victims in this helicopter crash. We do not yet know.
Oh, boy. And, Brian, this is just a blow. It's such a shock to so many. I mean, I think even if you didn't know him and you just watched him, from afar, just like I did, I mean, your heart just sinks. You just can't help but feel so sad, about all of this.
Yeah, he
Brian,
made the game better.
Yeah,
He brought in
did.
so many new fans for the Lakers, but for the NBA as well. You know, for many people, a generation of the Lakers is represented by Kobe Bryant, and that is why we are seeing such an outpouring of emotion, so much heartbreak right now.
Oh. All right. Let me also, Bryant, stick around. Don't go anywhere. Christine, you're still with me, too. CNN World Sport anchor Don Riddell also joining us now. So, Don, talk to us specifically about international audiences. I mean, this is a young man who also grew up in part overseas. So he really was a global citizen, and he brought that experience to the NBA. He talked, prolifically about his childhood, his upbringing, and how it also prepared him to be the figure in sports that he had become.
Yeah, absolutely, Federica. I mean, a lot of us in this business are supposed to be able to produce words very easily. I think for a lot of people today, it's going to be very, very difficult to find the words to describe how people feel about what we now know has transpired today. I think the world of sport is in a state of considerable shock right now. You're absolutely right, Kobe Bryant, a legend of the NBA, an American sports legend and an icon, and an international sports icon too. Of course, Kobe Bryant played only for one club during his incredible career, 20 years with the LA Lakers. It was during that time that the NBA truly became a global sports brand. You're going to be seeing sports fans all over the world in shock today at news of Kobe Bryant's passing at the age of just 41 years old. We know about his achievements. I mean, his list of accomplishments and records are almost too long to list, but 5 NBA titles with the Lakers, including that famous three-peat the year 2000, 2001, 2002, when they won it in 3 consecutive years. He won 5 NBA titles. He was the Finals MVP twice. Just last night, the timing is almost quite chilling here. LeBron James, currently of the LA Lakers, actually passed Kobe Bryant's scoring record to move him to number 3 on the all-time scoring list in the NBA. And LeBron stood there in the locker room and spoke for, I think, a good 4 minutes about Kobe Bryant and what Kobe meant to LeBron and how Kobe inspired LeBron before he even knew his name. The fact that Kobe went straight from high school into the NBA, which of course LeBron did himself several years later, what they have meant to each other. It is just absolutely devastating. I'm seeing so many comments now on social media from other basketball players, other athletes, not just in America, all over the world, sports fans, and the main theme is this just cannot be true. I think, we're used to breaking news happening and it becoming a matter of fact fairly quickly, but I think with this one, people just they don't want to accept it, and they are unable to accept it. I think this just is absolutely, genuinely devastating and absolutely shocking for so many people.
Right. I think it's clear we're all feeling that pit in our stomach, that feeling of disbelief that this really cannot be. Don, I wonder if you could share more on the choice, whether it was Kobe Bryant's choice or the LA Lakers' choice to be associated, to be attached to a singular team for so long, when there are so many players in the NBA that you watch, who it's still admired to bounce from one team to another. But there was something about his connection with the LA Lakers and vice versa.
Yeah, you're right. Can you imagine?